Hello everybody and welcome back to Miniature Hub. It's been a really long time, I know, about 2 years I think, but today, well, we're back and I'm looking at the A Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game today, and I'm going to be giving you a brief overview of kind of how the game works, the factions in the game, and just how cool this game is. I've been collecting it for the past 1 or 2 years, I think, about that. And I really love it because I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, House of the Dragon, love all that stuff. And this game has become probably one of my favourite miniature games of all time, and it probably will be till the end of time. So I'm gonna, first of all, dive straight in, and I'm just gonna tell you what factions are in the game. If you watch the show, you probably know what these factions are. If you've read the books, you will probably definitely know what these factions are. Just to say that basically all the models and the characters in the game are based off the books, not the TV show. So some of the characters you'll see will probably not be in the TV show, and the models, they don't look like the actors or anything. So first let's start off with the factions. They've got House Lannister, House Stark, the Free Folk, the Night's Watch, House Baratheon, House Targaryen, House Greyjoy, House Martell, and the newest house is House Bolton. They also have the neutral faction, which is a bit different. Basically, all the units in the neutral you can actually put into your army. So if you're playing House Stark, you could add some neutral units. However, you can also play the neutral faction as a standalone faction. So you can have a bunch of neutral units and a neutral commander all in one thing, but you can't like implement any other houses in that. So it has to be purely neutrals. So the houses I have are House Targaryen, House... I have a bit, yeah, so I have House Targaryen, I have a bit of Starks, I have a bit of Lannisters, and then I also have the Free Folk and the Night's Watch. As you can see in front of me, I've got some Targaryen and Night's Watch to show to you today. I'm also just going to explain kind of, not the basics, not how to play the game, but just kind of what the game includes. So in each faction, you'll have different types of units. You'll have infantry, you'll have cavalry, you'll have monsters, and then there's also war machines. And also NCUs, commanders, and attachments. Those three at the end are a bit different to how they play, but I'm just going to go over what infantry looks like. Unlike Warhammer, as you can see on the left right here with my Unsullied right there, unlike Warhammer, the units and like the army is basically in trays. So a basic unit of infantry, or potentially ranged infantry, whatever, they basically are in like the generic bracket of infantry. As you can see, they have 12 in that unit, and they're in a grey tray. Well, you can paint over the trays, but they're in a tray of 12. And yeah, that's basically how they work, and you move them in that formation. They don't leave the tray at all unless you're like removing wounds or anything like that. Next to it, you've got the cavalry, which is right there. They are some Night's Watch cavalry. I think they're ranger trackers. They got bows and horses, and it's pretty cool. They are in a unit of 4. Basically, all cavalry is in a unit of 4. But that doesn't mean they have 4 wounds, unlike infantry, where one model counts as 1 wound. In cavalry, generally speaking, each model is 3 wounds. But there are some exceptions, like in the Free Folk, the Bear Riders, they have 4 wounds per model, but that's just like a niche thing. Generally speaking, it's 3 wounds. Then next to it, you've got a couple monsters that I have. They're called monsters, but I don't know, I just see them as friends for the people who have them in the books. You've got Ghost right there, and then you've also got Drogon for the House Targaryen and the Night's Watch. So they are monsters, and they also are solo units, so they have their own little tray, as you can see, and you can actually remove them from that tray, which I think is pretty cool. And they have their own thing, so they move around on their own. They do count as their own unit, even though they often have special effects and all that kind of cool stuff. And then next to it, I've just got a Scorpion weapon crew for the Night's Watch. As you can see, they're their own tray and its own base. They're like a special kind of base and tray. So they are in one... They're in one thing, basically, and you move them around as one thing. There are a few other units that do that. There's some chariots for the free folk. There's mammoths for the free folk, have their own tray. Same with the Golden Company elephants. I'm pretty sure they have their own tray as well. And then you've got, in front of me here, I have Jon Snow and Maester Aemon from the Night's Watch. Jon Snow is an attachment, which basically means you can add him to a unit, and it will basically give them extra abilities, extra buffs. It's all pretty cool, it's all pretty neat. Jon Snow is also a commander, which every army needs a commander, and you implement that commander at the start of your building. Generally speaking, I sometimes try to build around my commander, because you also have a tactics deck when you're playing the game, and the commander adds extra cards to your tactics deck, so different commanders have different cards, and you can play them at different times, and they do all sorts of cool things throughout the game. So the commander is pretty important. And generally speaking, commanders can also be used as an attachment, so you can use Jon Snow just as an attachment for a unit, or you can use him as a commander. Now, attachments have specific, I'm going to say requirements, but, well, they are requirements, basically. So, certain attachments can be added to infantry, they're like infantry attachments, and then you've got attachments for cavalry as well. Commanders can also be a cavalry attachment. It will be stated on the cards, but I'm going to go a bit more in-depth in some other videos. And then you've got NCUs, which is what Maester Aemon is. Basically, NCUs are for people who play behind the scenes in the Game of Thrones. So they're not on the battlefield, they're on a separate thing called the tactics board, I think it's called. And you basically play them, you activate them like they are a unit, but you play them on the tactics board. And the tactics board does loads of different things. You've got multiple zones you can claim. They do different effects. You know, certain units in your army may be like, you know, you've got to claim one zone, and then that buffs my unit for another reason, and it's all this kind of stuff. It's really cool, really, really fun to play. I'm just also going to go briefly over how quickly and easy it is to set up an army. Unlike in Warhammer, where you have to build, and you got to paint, and then you got to go through all this complicated battle tomes to get all points and stuff, which some people like. You know, I don't mind it, but this is really easy to do. The models, as you can see here, I have some painted, like Jon Snow, Maester Aemon, Ghost, the Scorpion crew, the Drogon. I have all the dragons painted, by the way. They were like the first ones I did, because, you know, dragons are the best. But then you can also see my Unsullied and the Ranger Trackers. They're not painted. They came straight out of the box like that. There's no assembly. You got the trays, you got the models, you got the cards, and you can just straight away play, which I think is so, so cool. The army building is super simple. I don't have any of the cards with me right now, but on the unit cards, they just have simple point costs like 6, 7, 5, 8, you know, whatever the point cost is. And you build an army for, generally speaking, 40 points is the general amount that you use in an army. But you can just add up the points. It's really easy. You just add, if you want to add an attachment, they normally include extra points. And then you just add them all up, and then you get to 40. And it's super simple to play. Then you can just start on the board, and then you just find anyone you want. It's really, really fun. So that's all I got time for today. I will be doing some in-depth faction reviews. It depends. I don't obviously have every faction. That's quite expensive. So I will do the ones that I have, and then I'll think about doing the other ones. I'll probably have to do them a bit differently. But goodbye for now. I'm really looking forward to starting this channel again, and I hope you guys are too. So I'll see you all next time. Bye!